Gervonta Tank Davis has a new opponent that I told you was most likely going to be his opponent. And we didn't need inside sources. We just needed common sense and to stop hating on the man for a minute. Gervonta Davis also warns Errol Spence Jr. about the fight against his fighter, Frank Martin. Let's talk about that in this video. Gervonta Tank Davis gives the fans a fight that they should want to see. A very good fight against a top lightweight, American lightweight, southpaw lightweight, slick fighting lightweight, black American lightweight, and all of the other things that people say Gervonta Davis will not do. All in the person of Frank the Ghost Martin. Now, before I get into that, though, let me welcome you back to the channel. If you're new to the channel, please accept my invitation to hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon so you can be notified of when we release more videos. And if you're a longtime subscriber and supporter of the channel, thank you so much for your support. It really makes a big difference to the channel. But let's get into this because I had done a series of videos over the last few weeks talking about a fight between Gervonta Davis and Frank Martin, because there was a lot of conversation out there about who he was going to fight next. And I said, look, man, the most likely guys that he's going to fight next are either Frank Martin or Errol Valenzuela. And why did I say that? In the videos I pointed out, because that is who is in line to fight him. Gervonta is the WBA world champion at 135 pounds. And if you want to know who a champion in a particular division is going to fight next, or try to figure it out or narrow it down, the first thing you should do is look at the ranking system and look at the fighters named in the ranking system. Look from number 10 all the way to number 1, and then use a process of elimination, and it's going to get you pretty close. In the case of Gervonta Davis, you had the number 1 guy, I do believe, was Isaac Cruz, and Isaac Cruz already had a fight scheduled. Another guy that was at the top was a guy named Zapata. Zapata fights for another promotional company and also had another fight that they were looking at. And then you had Frank Martin. A couple notches below that, you had another PBC fighter named Errol Valenzuela. The higher ranked guy is Frank Martin. So process elimination tells you it's more than likely going to be him. And you can do that for any other fighter that there is in the sport of boxing. Now, that is not to say that that will always work, because sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes they may have a unification fight with another champion. Sometimes they may flutter up in weight and fight somebody in a higher weight class, or they may bring somebody else from a lower weight class up, or somebody may move up rather from a smaller weight class to a higher weight class for a fight. And especially if, if it's a big money fight and people are talking about it, that may take place. But for the most part, this one was right in line. It made the most sense. They're both PBC fighters. They're good fighters. And Frank Martin is somebody that is a worthy opponent to Gervonta Davis. Now, Gervonta was on tape, and this was shared, I do believe, by Fight Hub. When he was asked if he would fight Frank Martin, he said, "Oh, yeah, I'd like to fight Frank Martin," but tells Errol Spence Jr., don't mess around and get your fighter hurt. Now, if Gervonta Davis dominates Frank Martin, I don't want to hear any more conversation about him not fighting top lightweights, or any type of conversation about him not fighting black American fighters and all this other stuff that people pull out of their backside to down that young dude. First of all, the guy is given a bunch of very good fights, and Frank Martin, without a doubt, is a top lightweight. He is as much of a top lightweight as George Kambosos was when George Kambosos fought Teofimo Lopez as the IBF mandatory. for sure. A better fighter than Yuriorkis Gamboa was when Gervonta fought him or Devin fought him. Better than Yoshina. Better, as good at the least as an Edwin De Los Santos, a Raymond Moratala. Better than a Jojo Diaz. Right there with, or better, I'm not sure for sure about Germaine Ortiz, but definitely that level or above of a fighter. He can box. He can brawl. He's got good power. He has a high ring IQ. He has everything that should satisfy people, but you know that's not going to work. If he goes in and he gets knocked out by Gervonta, it would have been another cherry pick by Gervonta Davis. This will also be the second southpaw that Gervonta Davis has fought in his last 3 fights. The first being Hector Garcia, and now Frank Martin. So it is a funny matchup, even from the perspective of how the fighters match up with each other as southpaws. I'm liking the fight very much. Do not know the date, do not know the location, and actually really do not know for sure if it's been finalized. It was reported by ESPN. So I'm still going to hold off a little bit of knowing for sure that fight is going to take place. But let's assume for the sake of it, because it makes a lot of sense that the fight would take place, that it does. Out the window goes with Gervonta Davis or the PBC not having any money for fights. A rumor that has been spread consistently on the PBC, like every week in some different variation, right? So that should also tell us that we should be getting more announcements for the fights that are on the undercard for that fight. I assume that it's not going to be on the undercard of Canelo versus whoever he fights that will take place on May 5th. So we're probably looking forward to the June time frame. So you would have March, which is pretty much April, right? Because it's March 30th. Really, that's just the beginning of April, very into March. Then you have a May. Now you have a June. So what does that mean? There probably is going to be a July, August, September, October, November, December. And then there's probably going to be a couple pay-per-views in between them. So it seems as if the year is picking up. And I like it, man. And I can't wait for these guys to announce these fights so we can stop having the Rick Glaziers of the world and the rest of the YouTube channels that continue to talk about, oh, shouldn't we be worried that they are never going to fight again? Or shouldn't we be worried that they don't have the budget for the fight? Why be worried about any of that stuff? If they announce a fight, they announce a fight. If they don't announce a fight, they don't announce a fight. But anyway it goes, I'll take this fight. I like this fight. I've said that it made a lot of sense. This is definitely a top-notch fighter and definitely a threat to Gervonta Davis. And if Gervonta Davis can handily beat Frank Martin, then you got to get this man his credit for what that man has done in this lightweight division. And you can't say that he hasn't had step-up fights or he's not fighting top competition, because Frank Martin is without a doubt top competition in that division. But it will not surprise me at all if he beats Frank Martin and all of a sudden Frank Martin becomes a bum. But anyway, that's my take on the matter. Let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Deuces.